All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and whoever might have woken up in a post apocalyptic hellscape. This is a brand new episode of Pink Buzz. We are joined by another amazing, just amazing guest whose newest Kickstarter just broke, basically Kickstarter, blasted through all its goals. It's still live, by the way. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and pitch your Kickstarter really quick,
I
sir?
don't know if I can follow that because that was such a cool introduction. Oh my god, I'm brilliant. I'm Richard Morgan. I sometimes use the letter in the middle, which is why it says Richard A. Morgan, just because there's another Richard Morgan who's more famous, and they keep messaging me about him. So I'm like, yeah, thank you, but that's not me. But yeah, I make comics in my spare time, and third Kickstarter for Blam Glam, which is a crazy title. Um, is currently live. 2 days left to go. Less than 2 days left to go, and my mind is blown at the moment. Brilliant. Thank you for having me.
No
Our
problem.
pleasure.
And like I said, you guys blew through all your goals, which means you guys unlocked all kinds of really cool add-ons, like some beautiful variant covers. You want to describe some of those, maybe for the people listening, and see if we can get you a little extra cheddar.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, my favourite cover is the third issue. It's the dark cover, the standard one. But yeah, it immediately opened up with the red alternative covers, which I know people quite like. And all of a sudden, we then started getting into Virgin variants, which is new to me. I think we only did it with the last issue. You know, take off the titles, take off all the branding, and you've just got that art. And I know people collect for it, so it's quite cool. But we've done something a little bit different with this one. We have done some like nude variants that people have unlocked as well, and they're super limited. They're like only 5 of each cover that have that that thing. Whereas the alternative red cover, I think that's like 30 or something like that. But the Virgin covers is 10. So that's a Virgin cover, but there's also an even more
Well,
Racy.
well, it's pretty much the same pose, right? It's just not quite as covered up from what I think I saw on Kickstarter.
It's funny because with that one, I painted them all the way you see them in the Kickstarter in the header, and then I got talking to Gary Parkin at Underglow Comics. He's got Kickstarters, and we're always bouncing off each other on Instagram, LinkedIn. It's not LinkedIn, on Instagram. And he got me to do some covers for him, and there's a new one coming out. And I said, what if I try something different? And so we did a nude one. And then when he approved it, then I painted the clothes over the top. Whereas this one, I painted the clothes and went, oh, should I do a nude one? Then I had to paint them all back out again. Need a filter that says, take those clothes off, but it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
if you did it digitally, you could just do it in layers and then just like click the layers on and off, right? You do your art. Yeah, you paint traditionally, so it makes it a little more complicated to take the clothes off, right?
Yeah, and there's going to be a plugin one day. You're just going to go click, and it'll just make it happen. I'm sure.
Yeah, like those old. You should make an old school pen for like. You turn it and the girl gets naked, and when you turn the other way, she has her clothes on. You should do that as a stretch goal. One of those pens that were.
You know what? I should do that. Definitely. Definitely. That'd be really cool.
Clear plastic overlay cover where like she's got her clothes on, then you flip the plastic one over
the
and
acetate.
Yeah,
acetate layover. Yeah.
You know what? I do like when they've done something special with the covers. I like a reveal. And all sorts of. So that's quite a good idea. I just got to see if the person who does, if the company that does my comics, they can do an acetate overlay. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
No, that'd be cool. But yeah, you talk. It's interesting. You talk about the painting style. It's traditional. 90% of it's digital.
Okay, digital. Okay.
Yeah, no. But what's good is it follows a traditional style. So what I try to do is when I'm painting, if I've made a mistake, I'll try to paint over it and then go in and change it.
Okay.
I need this pen seriously.
yeah.
I'll give you some pointers on that. It's just the Apple Pencil, but in Procreate, there's a wonderful brush. I think it's Nicky Roll or Nico Roller, something like that. And the way it works is you can choose dry or wet. So as you paint dry, it just drops colours in. But I like to put base colours down behind, like crazy colours. Like there's a red, there's a blue, might not be in the image. And when you use Nico Roll, I should really remember the name of the brush I used. It acts like an oil paint and it pulls through the colour. And
from
so,
the other colors behind it. And okay, cool.
And it creates the feel. But I mean, what's interesting is, because I failed A-level art. I was, we're talking 30 years ago. I was terrible at art. And then I just put it to one side. And it was only like within the past 5 years I started painting again. But I was painting on Photoshop with a Wacom. But it's not as good as when you're on Procreate and using the Apple Pencil, it's brilliant. But after I was doing a couple of paintings, there was this guy on Instagram, Chris Guest Artist, and he's amazing. He photographs his own stuff. He photographs models and then paints them. I have a couple of references up all the time. His style is really cool. And he ran these workshops, and I remember this was about 3-4 years ago. And my mum said at the time, my mum said, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I said, "I'd really love to go on one of these workshops." So she paid for it, and actually, what the workshop was to do an oil painting, to learn how to oil paint, but based on experience. And this was the first ever oil painting I did, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, just in his workshop. And it showed me that the digital skills I had were traditional. I could
in nature, yeah. That's cool.
So with that, I could start to experiment. So I've been doing more oils and stuff. So when you talk about the covers that are available, there's some oil painted covers that I've been doing for the past one and this one. And some once they've if they've gone for it, I'll say to them, "What do you want on your cover? What do you want Glam to be doing?" Yeah, I mean that's a fully oil painted page there, which is from issue 2, and that's been sold in one of the Kickstarter rewards. But if someone wants a painted color, a cover, I'll just take one of the blank ones. Some people they want ink and and marker pen drawings. Some people want oils, and you have to wait about a couple of weeks for them to dry before you can...
To dry properly, or it'll stick when you package it and mail it out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to limit it. I've limited it to 5, and I think the 5th one went earlier today, because otherwise I'm going to be there all day making those and not getting around to finishing the comic. So I need to...
Yeah.
Although you've got to do the comic first to get them printed to do them. So, But I mean, with my art course, I left school, failed A-level art. I met my wife at the time, so that was one good thing to come out of college.
Yeah.
And then I went into graphics because I'd studied graphic design in my school, and then I thought, I failed art, I failed A-levels. What do I need to do? And I learned how to do graphic design. I thought I've got something about this. Spent 4 years, and I've been working like that ever since. And around the same time, I was trying to draw comics with my friend at school, David Stokes. He's Stokes Book on Instagram, and his comic stuff is phenomenal. Even back then, he was brilliant. At the time, I was thinking, hey, I'm going to be Jim Lee. I'm going to be really good. My stuff was terrible. His stuff was brilliant, and it still is now. And I remember when I failed A-level art, it blew, all my confidence went, and I went, I don't think I can do this. So I parked comics. And it wasn't until... I'm going to get the timings wrong. About 4 or 5 years ago, when I started to build my games on, when I started to code games on Apple devices, I realized I needed to paint a cover for this game I was working on. I'd already done one, and the way I do it is, this is where I bought the iPad. I thought I've got to learn how to make an app, and why not make games? I was a big gamer when I was a kid. I've got Mega Drive over there. Which was the Sega Genesis for you guys, but the Mega Drive was big at the time. So I bought another one recently. But I wanted to make games like that, and then the whole industry changed. So I didn't do that. So I didn't do comics and I didn't do games. But 5 years ago, I thought I'd need to make an app. I'll learn how to do it. And I realized the only time I had available was on my train commute to work, which was for me, it's an hour and 40 minutes each way. And one of those parts of the train is 50 minutes on a train where I could be sleeping, or I could be browsing stuff. And actually, I started coding, and I learned how to code on an iPad. And there was people I met on the train, and I'd code something, and they'd be looking over the shoulder, go, "Can you try this for me?" And then they'd start playing it because you could play it as you went. And of course, that game got made, and I launched it. But I needed art, and then that's when I taught myself how to paint again. And it's only just boomeranged back to comics and going, "Do you know what? There's something here. There's something quite interesting. You know, would people like this story?" So that's where we are.
And I'd hate to interrupt, but the link to play Richard's game is actually in the description of this video. So if you want to check it out, I have the link to the Apple iStore where you can pick this up. And Joey got to play it. I don't have an Apple anything, but Joe, what did you think of the game when you gave it a go?
Well, it took me a while. Like anyone, I was like, I want to play it now, so I didn't go into the tutorial. So I'm playing it, and I'm like, trying to figure out the controls without actually going into the. So I was like, so I played it for maybe an hour without even knowing how to play it properly. So I was like, all right, I don't know how to launch these bombs, right? So then I went and watched because I'm not used to playing games on a touchpad. So I went and watched a tutorial now I know kind of how all the controls work, which you're too excited. You want to try something. You want to try it right away. You don't want to learn anything, right? You just want to get to it. But I'd say it's kind of like what's that game, Galaga style, right?
Kind of look like R-Type, right? Type of space shooter.
Yeah, it's got that sort of feel to it. It's got that classic 8-bit sort of look.
Yeah.
What's actually funny is the first game wasn't a touchscreen game. It was what I call tilt and shoot 'em up. And what you do is, as you're playing, you tilt left or tilt right, and you just hold down the fire button. But somebody's then got in touch and they said, "Oh no, it's too hard. You should do it like this." And so I had to build it into a touchscreen one. But what's quite funny is, so I'm a gamer from the 80s. Gaming was brilliant for me. Mm-hmm. But do you guys know have you heard of the Konami code?
Of course, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start.
So if anyone's got this on an iPhone and iPad, there's a flashing star on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
If you touch the flashing star, when it works, you get me.
Okay.
But you also get the up, down, left, right. So you could enter Konami code. Now, you'd enter the Konami code, you get a couple of lives and weapons. But some people, they got pixel avatars for the main menu. And I would tell them what their one was. So this is one of the guys here. And so when he fires up his game and has entered his code, sorry, the screen quality is really bad on this. I'm going to make it less bright. But, every time that person fires up their game, they see themselves. Oh, no, it's still going to do it. But when it goes back to you, they'll always see themselves. And there's about 30 of these. And each time I was doing an update, I'd let them, I'd say, do you want to be in the game? And it's only on the title screen. It's a bit of fun. But it gave them something they could upload. So somebody's like a down, left, right, and somebody else is a BA, and then something else,
Yeah, I wasted a good couple hours one night. And then my wife's like, "You gonna turn that off?" I'm trying to sleep, and I'm just playing that.
The thing I really love is the music, and I think this was the whole thing George Lucas was saying with Star Wars. There wasn't much he liked about it, but the music was the best thing. And the music in this, I get goosebumps thinking about it. It's my friend Rue, and their music company, 7 Hertz Research, and I've known them since school. And I used to do music, and they do music much better than I do. I haven't done it for decades. But I just said, look, I'm after this. Can you capture this for me? And when they did it, I was blown away. I was like, right, this makes the game even better, so you could really enjoy it and get back into that feel. So.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the music because my wife's like, the music's not that bad. It helps me sleep. That's what she told me. It's more she's really sensitive to light. So in the room, it has to be like pitch black for her to sleep. So the glow from the screen, like when she'd roll over to my side of the bed, like the glow from the screen would wake her up. But she was like, oh, the music's fine. It puts me to sleep. It's soothing. So that part wasn't so. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Tell her the music's available. There is a long version of the mini album somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, but while I was playing, I was like, the figure 8 is like, I just played doing a figure eight, right? Because the cannons, they always, so I was like, a figure eight, that's the perfect strategy while I'm playing. Just do a figure eight while I'm fighting the bosses.
It's crazy because that game took about 3 years to develop. It was, and this is what's funny. I'm not a coder. I am an awful programmer. There's a brilliant program on iPad on the Apple Store called Codia,
Okay.
and you learn how to code in a quite a basic language. It's a bit like BASIC and it's a bit like JavaScript. I'm no good at programming, and I always joke if somebody goes, "Oh, I played your game," and I go, "Brilliant!" It's a series of if statements. There's like a billion if statements in this computer that says, "If something is this, then do that." And there's so many of them. Somebody else in programming will write 2 lines and they'll take up 100 of mine. Mine
Yeah.
just if. So now it works.
Yeah. No, it's pretty fun. I played it a few times there the last few days. So yeah, yeah, I could see someone like you said on a commute. Like it's funny that you kind of develop this on your commute to work because it's a perfect game for when you're commuting to work. So it's just fitting that you know a good chunk of this was made during your commute to work because it's the perfect commute game.
But I mean, it's funny because as I was doing that after the game finished, and I thought I got this bug for painting. So when you see that photo of me and there's an arcade machine and there's an art side, that's the poster art. And it's funny,
Okay.
my friend shot that for me, Chris Evans, and we was downstairs at work because I knew him from work, and we went downstairs to the garage in the building we was working at the time, and we built this arcade machine out of polyboard. We printed out massive the poster, stuck it one side. It's only 1 bit, and I'm pretending to use it. You know,
Okay.
I'm probably holding it up because it was so lightweight, incredible. And he said, "Oh, we got a fan machine and everything. We get light blowing." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's nothing to blow. You know, no hairs to blow, nothing."
Yeah, you even got. That's what I was telling Johnny. I said, "Man, he went all out. He's got the light in the background with the fog machine going." I was like, "Man, this is like a full production, man, for this photo." I was like,
it reminds me of the pinball machine scenes from Wally's Wonderland, man, when Nicolas Cage is just like, I was just like, man, you nailed that whole aesthetic with that picture. I'm like, that's how you advertise your app.
Yeah, you show people going crazy. It's funny because when I said to Chris, he said, "What concept?" Because he was trying to come up with concepts, and I said, "It's got to be me playing the arcade machine." And he said, "What sort of post?" And I went, "How about a bit like Back to the Future poster? You know, really like legs apart. You know, as if you're going somewhere, make something happen." I just thought it was brilliant when we did it. But so we did that. But after it was about what do I do next, and it wasn't making more apps. I started to get the bug for painting, so I'd actually start painting people, and some people were on Instagram, and Instagram was building up slightly. You know, a lot of people were building from the game part, but then I was starting to build the art part, and some people get in touch and they go, "Oh, you know," or I go, "Would you mind if I painted this photo?" We even got to the point where some people were on the train. I would take a photo. I'd say, "Do you mind if I paint you?" Because they saw what I was doing. I'd take a photo, and by the time the train finished, there was an image that they could then go and print and do whatever. And it was just a good chance to start to learn how to recreate the image, how to find the style. And at the same time, I wanted to do a comic, and I started drawing characters, and I drew Glam originally as a redhead. And then all of a sudden, I started to go somewhere else with her, and she became this silver-haired, sort of like platinum blonde character. And I knew that she was something to do with robots, and it was going to be originally it was an apocalyptic future. And then I just didn't know what to do with it. Yeah, exactly. And the fantasy art sort of thing. And I didn't quite know what to do with it. And and then I just found this, put it in a modern setting sort of thing. But yeah, it's funny where you get influence from sort of things. And I think we was talking about it just a bit before, Johnny, where you're saying about, what's this? Is there a connection with what's going on at the moment? I'll probably just
There's a really strong kind of tie to the climate right now, and a kind of a parallel to the pandemic, which I was gonna have you brush upon because I found that one of the most interesting things about this book in particular is that it kind of goes in deep into shit that's actually going on right now. Which, can you elaborate on?
Yeah, so it was I wanted to have something to ground it into, some sort of reality, but it was going to be an alternative reality. And the pandemic just threw everyone indoors. All of a sudden, you'd be walking the streets and no one was about. You know, especially in London, it got crazy. And you're like, this is end of the world stuff. You know, this is The Walking Dead. This is what's starting to go on. And I thought, now is there a potential setting? And that's where I got the line. We moved from a pandemic to a pandemonic, which is where we've got these demons sort of rocking up. Everyone's missing, but you've got this character in the middle who doesn't know what's going on. And I don't mean she doesn't know what's happening in the world. She doesn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that an interesting way to discover the world through her. So if this stuff is going on, you know, we need clues on what's happening with the world so we can make a connection. But yeah, by doing that same level event, you know, how can you tell it in a different way? And so this is, instead of it being about infections, it's about demons, but people are still disappearing. Something's happening to them. What's gone on? You know, why are the streets empty? I thought might be an interesting thing to play with.
The designs for your particular demons and the kind of cyberpunk feel to them is just iconic. Where did you kind of come up with the six eyes and certain things like that? I mean, they are just vivid and visceral and kind of one of a kind. So I was just gonna pick your brain on character design. Like, what influenced you with this stuff?
It's crazy because the actual demon head, I just wanted something tall and thin, and I wanted to flip what was going on because normally you expect the eyes at the top and the mouth to be here, and I just wanted to flip it so the six eyes were actually at this level and the head and the mouth was above, which then gave you a different, why is this head upside down almost sort of view, which gives you you know, there's going to be some stuff that comes up about that. But yeah, it's I don't actually know what inspired it, apart from I just wanted it to be dark. And actually, what will be interesting is as you see some of these characters come out in the next couple of issues, or even further, you know, you start to see more about them. So a lot of them are like white, you know, or they're light grey, or when you see them, you might think they're dark, but they're in darkness. So maybe that's why their tones are coming up. But yeah, it's funny because a friend of mine, because I love Ashley Wood art and Ashley Wood figures. You've seen the 1/6 scale figures he does. And I got in touch with different people, you know, I started collecting those. And one guy who's a collector, absolutely brilliant, he decided to take one of those and turn it into a figure. Hang on, let's see if I can find it. He actually sent me photos of a figure he'd made. And I'd actually slim down.
Oh, wow.
I would slim down the head because I think it should be thinner. But I was like, wow. And he took an old drum and built the head, which was just amazing. And then we built like the chest. And he even made 4 legs for it, which is what was in the original scan. It was just incredible. And I was like, oh my God, I'm blown away. Which is so cool. But yeah, there's an element, there's 2 elements to them. You know, you've got the head and then there's 4 legs. But they're clothes. So who are they? You know, what's going on with them? So I'm going to put him here.
Well, and the buckets can fly around and possess others, right? They bite onto your head and kind of turn you into one of the cyber demons. Basically, is how they work.
That's it. You got to start to think if that head could go onto a body, what happens? And actually, I think you probably start to see where if the eyes then become here on a human because it's a tall head, you can see how they start to interact with things. But yeah, we'll go into the details in the next. I don't know, maybe in a couple of issues more with them. But there's an interesting thing coming up in the next issue where one of the rewards was to be in the comic, and in this issue 3, there's 3 slots for people to be possessed.
Okay.
So you have to see something, and I can't go into detail about it much, except I've got an image in my mind of how you reveal the person, and it's akin to a well-known film, but I can't spoil it more than that. But yeah, there's that idea of, you know, the symbiotic nature or the way they take over things. You know, you're starting to see that idea, and yeah, see where it can go, and perhaps you start to see where the people have gone.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I love your film references so far. There's one where the character Jet does my favorite line from the movie Alien, and I lost it when I got to that scene. I was just like, yes, dude, mostly. I was just like, yes.
You know what? I've got so many different references, and then I was chatting to someone, and they said, "Oh yeah, and there's this one," and my brain went, "Oh God, I put that in subliminally." And there's one where he says, "She, they're talking about the gun. They're for sale if you want them." I'm a Star Wars fan out through and through, and I just completely missed it was a Obi-Wan line, and my brain is going into overtime, dropping in lines. But you're right. There's those references to the films I love. Aliens is an incredible film. There's just so much in them, and of course, if you can call it out with people, I love to have that fun. But it tells you something about the characters as well, I think.
Yeah. But I've been just recently. I've been starting to rewatch Eon Flux, and I find that Glam, she definitely resonates a little bit like Eon Flux with the nice leather, and she's like acrobatic the way she jumps around and over things, and like as I was watching Eon Flux, I was like, damn, that makes me think of the Glam character too, like little parallels there from that as I was watching it just recently. It's just funny. I started watching that recently as I was reading the book. That I saw the parallel between the two characters, so it's pretty cool.
I mean, we had Aeon Flux in the 80s when it was on BBC Two. So BBC is our TV, is a British Broadcasting, and one of the channels, and they would have Liquid Television on one night each week, and they had. But like for half an hour, and you'd had different cartoons. It was quite cool. But then they had Aeon Flux, and you're like, I've got to know what's happening next. And that whole eye with the fly and the eye comes around. Oh, it was amazing. I get goosebumps. It was amazing seeing that, and I wanted the whole story. And then they did the film, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Doesn't do it justice at all.
But yeah, the whole acrobatic thing, that's quite interesting because there's without giving details, there's a page where she's like, I'm an acrobat, or am I? And it's like when you're trying to discover who you are and you realize you can do some things. But like the bus scene, when there's a crazy bit where she's jumping, I no one's ever going to make it, but I could see it as an animation or a TV going crazy, jumping off things. It'd just be brilliant. But in high heels, most people can't walk, let alone run and leap and jump and kick, and so I thought that was could be quite cool for her.
Yeah, I mean, her heels go beyond like even stilettos, though. I mean, like they're like classic high heels mixed with like them shoes that the Spice Girls wore with them soles that were like. So yeah, she's like up on stilts a little bit with them with the shoes you got her on.
You'd be like that. Hello.
Yeah. It's platform shoes with a stiletto is basically,
But the outfits is, she's woken up in this outfit, and people go, "That's not even an outfit." Oh my God, what is that? But there's what's interesting is there's things I've tried to build into the story where you assume certain things and then you'll question things, and it's funny, even on the cover. Is what I try to do is seed little clues so that as you get further down the story, you might go, "Oh, hang on a minute," and you go back and realize it was there all along. But a lot of them are very subtle, and it's that trick of where you reveal something and where you don't. And it'll be interesting to know where people are in the story.
Well, her outfit is actually a part of her, right? I mean, it transmorphs with her. I mean, there's a scene in part 2 which leads into the cover of 3 where if you notice it, she's drastically different. She's actually got something covering her breasts on the cover of that's because her outfit actually turns into more of a dress than kind of a bustier, I would say she was wearing in the first 2 issues.
And that's it. There's a panel in where something changes. And then you think, what is that? Why? And the thing is, I know who she is, right? And I know, as I'll reveal, it'll be interesting to see who's going there, who guesses it, who goes where with the character. And I'm trying to work out when I actually reveal who she is. And it might be issue 8 of this season, of this first section, or it might be, you answer some things and there's still some things to go. So I don't want to spoil everything. It's about saying, how do you realize if you're on the journey? Have you been picking up the stuff? But yeah, there's these little weird bits where you go, hang on, so what happened there? Who's that? Why did that happen? And I want those to build. And I don't know, sometimes it might mean that the story might feel disjointed to some people. I'm personally trying to see if you're paying attention.
Well, even the character in it, when that happens with her outfit, she's like, weird, and then they just kind of move on from it, right? She makes a little comment like, oh, that's weird, and then they just continue, right? They don't, like
it's like there's so much going on in this world that, even though
they don't have,
like, we ain't got time to spend on this.
No, that's it. Because something's gonna fucking eat our asses up, right? We gotta get the fuck out of here. We can't just sit here and we don't have time for questions.
Well, I mean, it was interesting because at the end of the second issue, you find out that she doesn't even know how to speak. I mean, you kind of figured, because she's narrating and kind of talking to herself the whole time, that she could vocalize. But at the end of the second issue, you learn that, like, she doesn't even know how to talk, and she says her first words basically as she's going to battle with the spider mech, which I can't wait to see, that births the Six Eyes. Right, we're gonna get a good look at that guy in issue 3.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you're starting to see the Six Eyes already, but yeah, you haven't seen them in action. And this is the thing where you go, sorry, you've seen the Six Eye in the first issue chasing after people, and actually that's what's quite funny is the Six Eye refers to, there's a let's see if I can find it. There's a shape on its face. It does actually refer to the demons as well. But on the actual thing itself, you see there's 6 components. I can't point the camera in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 big ones and 4 diagonals. And they connect with them somehow in terms of the mech. It will connect with, if you look at the walking figures, they've got 6 eyes as well. So you start to think, hang on, this technology may work with them in some ways. Because there's also things, I don't know if you picked up, could they see her at some point? And there's little things in that story where when you read back and you go, hang on a minute, they had trouble trying to find her, and then you're trying to work out, so why can they not see her, or why couldn't they see her? And I don't know, they might be, again, subtle, but it's interesting to see who picks up on it.
Well, yeah, you put not a lot of nice little clues, like why Blam only speaks to her, which I think I have figured out, but I'm not going to say my theory on here because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I like you have this thing kind of it's got its surreal moments. It's very esoteric, but at the same time, I think you're leaving a lot of stuff to try to at least help people figure things out for themselves, if it's not the main conclusion. So, like, it's not. That's the best thing about it is kind of red herring, full of red herrings and all kinds of cool what the heck moments, but it's not a confusing book, and it's not hard to understand, which is really good, because it really is kind of out on its own with the type of narrative you're spinning with it. I mean, I can't think of another book that looks or reads like it, but at the same time, it's really easy to sink your teeth into.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I mean, the thing is, there's one thing I could say which would then get people to reread it and see if it from another point of view. So I'm not going to do that yet. That might be further down the line. But what you'll do is, if I actually, this is another way of saying it. There's patterns in the book, and when you start to what you'll do later on is you'll realize something, and you go, hang on a minute, is that then means this is not what I think it is. And when those things happen, I'm hoping I pull it off. I mean, it's hard because it's all up here, and it's like in your own head, it's like, yeah, this could be great. You never know. But yeah, we'll have to see.
But like, I love the art style. Like, I love that painterly style. That I feel like there's not enough of that in comics, because I mean, comics is an art form, and it's nice to see a variety of styles, and I love that style. Like, I think it definitely stands out on its own, which is wonderful. Like, your covers, like those covers you showed, all the different covers you do, The colors, like you say, the people are really digging those red background covers because they just pop, right? And
Ooh, yeah. Here, check this one out.
yeah, like, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful style. I mean, it's hard to beat. Like, I mean, it's art, right? You're doing paintings as a comic, so I mean, who would not love the visual style of your book? It's fantastic.
I mean, there's two things on that. I mean, the first one is like, I wish I was a traditional comic artist. I wish I could draw like the Jim Lees and people like that, and I realise I can't. It's more about with the paint, you can capture emotion, you can create a shape or form. And I saw this with Ashley Wood's work. You could have a couple of marks that suggest a person or a thing, and you go, it just, and there's something just resonated with me. But it's funny. When I was first painting, before I really got started with the comic, originally the comic was going to be a graphic novel. It was going to be like eight volume graphic novel, and I was going to launch in one go. And I'm glad I didn't, because if you do it in one go, then your Kickstarter is quite small, and you don't necessarily build the audience. Whereas if you do individual issues, you slowly start to grow and bring on more people. But what's funny was I was trying to think, right, I'm going to do this in an ink style. So even Ashley Wood has a painting and an ink style. And as I was drawing, a friend of mine I worked with, Adam Buxton, he said, when I said I'm going to do the comic, but I'm really struggling with the ink style, he said, dude, you just paint it in your paint style. And I was like,
yeah,
do what? I think you're on something. So, Adam, thank you.
Because
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, look at that.
Honestly,
beautiful.
In a painterly style like that, I think it's so much easier to convey a mood or a feeling than just a traditional line drawing, because of the way like you paint the colors and how they blend into one another, and like it gives off more of an emotion, a feeling. It definitely conveys much more of a mood, and it lends itself to the story so much more than. And I mean, it makes it easier because you write the story, you draw it, so you're really conveying what you want to say, and as opposed to trying to translate something from someone else. So I think it's beautiful, and it's so well done, and the mood and the message of it is conveyed really well from like panel to panel. And
Well, you can put so much expression into it. It's like I was talking about. There's a surrealistic feel to the book, but it's kind of more in your artwork. You have that almost Sienkiewicz style to it, which just really fills my mind with that 80s 90s indie comic surrealism, and you can't get that with pencil line art. I don't think. I haven't seen anybody pull it off as well as a painter can.
And you know what? Because you talk about Sienkiewicz, his stuff is amazing. And I have, these are Electra Assassin was just incredible, and these are around, inspiration. There was so much in Electra Assassin. If you haven't read this, seriously, such a good comic. And the one where he did afterwards, Stray Toasters, where he wrote it and he was doing the art. Stray Toasters really plays with, and this is a question this was something you was touching on, Joe, with the panels. Stray Toasters, he tried lots of different things. He was doing like 20 panels on a spread, and it's breaking up things, changing, and it just blows my mind. The thing for me is because I always worry about the writing and I worry about the way I'm doing it, but what I'm trying to do is I like the 9-panel thing that Watchmen was doing. Where it was like, it's not all 9 panels, it's the division. And sometimes it'd be big, hole up the side, but you were following that grid. And I know mine's a bit more jaggedy, and sometimes I change it, but I wanted to use that as a basis to try and create a structure. And I know, I don't know if it works for people, but I like to play with time so that even though it might be a 9-grid structure, there's like one page where the last 4, the panel's actually broken into 4, so it can tell the beats of something as it happens, like there's a van crashes through something and a door comes down, and it's quite hard to convey in 2 frames, I think. And so sometimes I try and break it down into a micro, elongate the time to almost give you that, I suppose if it was Matrix, like the bullet time, where you slow down, you can see the things that happen in between, and then you back up to speed. I don't know if it works, but it's quite interesting to see. it helps me break down the journey because for me, cool. For me, a lot of stuff is I in my day job I do advertising, and sometimes it's storyboards. So I'm always thinking of
Yeah.
how it moves. I don't know, it might be, because some people I want a big splash, I just want 2 panels, or I want something breaking out the page, and sometimes I like the way it can tell a slice of time, and hopefully it works.
I've enjoyed it so far. It's been great. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about yours is, I mean, I don't want to make it sound in a bad way, but it's not very wordy, and you explain everything with your visual style, which is gorgeous, which is also a testament how good your painting is, because it is, like I said, on the surreal experimental side, so it's pretty loose, but it's not like, say like an early Ben Templesmith where you're looking at it kind of like, I get what it's kind of trying to be, but what is that? Like I can tell what everything in your book is. It's glorious. So.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I mean, I do. I mean, the thing is, I've had someone say to me, it's too quick to read, or somebody else has gone, actually, it's the right pace to read. And you're right. Sometimes if there's a lot of dialogue, you have to stop and take things in. And it doesn't mean a lot of dialogue may not come later. But I think at the moment, that's also telling you something about the character. And so, there's things you're trying to process, and there's things that you're taking in the world. You're trying to learn the world as you go. But yeah, it's it's almost like all these people are in shock. There's shock at every turn. Where's everyone gone? What the hell are these demons? Oh my god, what are you wearing? And all these different things that are happening. And it's like, can you imagine it? I mean, if I was in that world, we was talking about the clothing that changed. And we just stop and talk about that, and then we get killed because we're still talking about
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things is it is noticed by everybody. Benny and Jed, the lady with the giant robot arms, they're all just kind of like, why is she walking around like that? Even she stopped and like, why am I dressed like this? Like half the time she's even asking that question. So it is addressed in the book. It's not like some, typical 90s bad girl where like she's running around like that and everyone's just like, that's our glam. Nope. Everyone's just like, who is this girl and where does she think she is? That's what I love about the book.
It's like her name and, Blam and Glam. They're just taking, to be honest, they don't know what to call her. So yeah, is it glamorous? I haven't got a clue. Does it make a good title? It's memorable.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue.
It's funny once you work out what Blam does, because the clues that something started to happen already, and when you reread, you might understand. But as it gets further and further, you're right. It's interesting. She has a relationship with this gun that nobody else has, but you have to work out how it works. and I think you've got ideas already, Johnny. But yeah, it will be quite interesting to see how it plays out.
She's got the gun talking to her and stuff and doing things that it seems that the rest of the cast didn't even know the gun could do. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more there, which I'm really excited for. I think it's laying some pretty good foreshadowing. But yeah, back to the art and people who say it's a quick read. This goes back to exactly what I told EPHK when he said the same thing for his book. It is if you don't stop to look at all the glorious detail that's given to you. If you're just rushing through this thing, stop and look at those panels, man.
That book is incredible. When somebody said to me, "You've got to get this." One of my friends who I work with, 730 Studio, he was like, "You've got to read this," and I was like, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything in that book, but you'll do a comic page, and he's talked about it before. He does 2 panels. Or it might be 3 panels. But then all of a sudden he does this amazing thing. She climbs into a rocket ship and then you've got a manual for the rocket ship. How cool is that? It's just, it's such a good book. And the pacing's brilliant.
But I think people often forget is comics are a sequential art, right? So the image tells as much of the story as the actual words that are printed on with that image. So you don't just have to read the word bubbles and stuff. You have to actually read those word bubbles and look at the panel. What's going on within that panel tells as much of the story as what the dialogue is, or or the narration box. You know, it's all together. Otherwise, why are you reading the comic if you're not going to take in every aspect of what sequential art offers? Like that's the whole package, and you've got to take it all in, observe it. And I think maybe that's where people kind of lose or get lost in certain things and maybe don't enjoy it because they don't approach the medium properly in the way you should read it. You know, like, and I think it's a little easier when maybe things don't get lost in translation as much as, let's say, like, as example, you work, or like what you'd call a cartoonist, right? Because it's your vision from start to finish. Yeah. There's no intermediate, like with a writer and an artist. I mean, if the two aren't connecting on the same level, then you might lose something in the story. Whereas, like, you're doing the whole story, so there's nothing lost in translation. Like, what you get on the page and everything comes from your head, so it all makes sense, and there's, like, you don't really lose anything there. And I think that's why it's important when you get teams, like on comics, you have to have the writer and the artist, they have to be on the same page, the same level, they have to be like the same vision, basically. And I think that's where maybe comics where you have creative teams maybe lose a little bit when the team isn't on the same page or have the same vision for that story.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's and I'll pull it out again. When you have you both read Elektra?
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, I only discovered this a couple of years ago. I was in a comic shop with my friend Adam Buxton, who told me about You Should Be Painting, and I saw this on the wall, and I went, I want that. And then also I had to order the rest of them. But I remember reading about seeing, because Sienkiewicz has got his channel on YouTube, and he was talking about how, you know, my brain, occasionally my brain packs up. It's Frank Miller writing it. And he said Frank Miller would write it. He'd look at it and go, "Yeah, I'm gonna change it slightly in terms of like the first one where it's almost told from a childlike way." And then when he drew it and then handed it back to Frank Miller, Frank was like, "That's completely different. All right, let me change the dialogue." And so, you know, and I quite like the idea that you take it and you change it, but you change it together. You know, so if like you're on the same page, you shape it.
Like, I mean, a creative team is like any relationship, whether it be a girlfriend, boy, you know, you've got to work together. There's got to be communication, and without it, I mean, like, something in that process is gonna suffer, and the end result will suffer from it, right? So you got to have communication. You got to be open with each other to, like, not hold back, like maybe not criticize, but, you know, you can't be afraid to express, like, if you have a concern or this or that, and then have that back and forth, right? Where both parties have to be open-minded in the creative process, because writers and artists are both creative people, and if they're not allowed to express themselves in a way they feel comfortable, then their work's going to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because you say, because, you know, there's two sides of my brain. One's writing and one's drawing. And they're telling each other the story, and they're saying to each other, we need to refine this, we need to change this. But, you know, I've got my guest editor, Charlotte Hall, who I worked with. And it's funny because Charlotte's a project manager in the day job when, you know, in the different companies I work for. And she just got this mindset that was just amazing. You know, she's very comic. She gets all that stuff. And I said, look, when I do the written version of the story, and I break it down into panels. I'm actually writing it as panels, and each one is a sentence apart. You know, it'll go page 2, and it'll be like 6 lines, and you know there's 6 panels. And I get her to read it just to make sure that I'm not assuming too much, because there's stuff that I might be thinking, yeah, they're picking up on, or I haven't quite or I've drawn. And so when she'll read it, and then we'll just make sure that it makes sense, or it makes sense in the way I need it to, even if sometimes it needs to not make sense. And then she'll look at the art afterwards once I've drawn it. Sometimes it's very loose. Sometimes it's like, you know, rough panels, angles. You get a sense of where it's going to be, and then I paint over it. And it's good to have that person who's in your mindset. But what's great about Charlotte is she doesn't impose something. You know, it's quite interesting. You might work with someone and you say, I just need a sounding board to bounce off of.
Yeah.
And some people are great. They go, look, I get what you're doing. I'm not going to interfere with that. Just consider these things. And they're not going, do it. They're going, think. And that's what Charlotte's like. She's brilliant. She'll go, I see we're going with this, but what if What if he tweaked it slightly? And that's what I need. I need to be able to bounce off, but I'm still in my head. I'm still in the thing, because otherwise, if it becomes somebody else's vision, the story will change. And later, that might be better.
So, your writing process, do you write it all out before you get into the art, or does sometimes do you let your art kind of dictate where the writing might go with a panel or a
Yeah,
page?
yeah, it's great. I mean, most of the time I know the story needs to go, but sometimes I need to say I've got to visualize it as opposed to trying to tell it in a written way. Now, most of it is written out. You could read from the story what the panel's going to be, but it's that thing. Different artists will interpret it in different ways. But sometimes I've got, like, when you open the first issue and you get to the splash page, I had that in mind. I wanted that to be, oh shit, that's London. Or can I swear? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, bollocks. It's London. And then you start looking in the picture and you're looking at different bits and you're trying to work out where in London this is. And that was, I've always got films in my mind. That's my, in Alien, where, they go onto the ship and Kane climbs up, and then you get the space jockey and the camera is like, and it pulls back to reveal the alien grown out of the chair, which was phenomenal. I saw this, I think it was about 7 or 8. My dad said one day, you can stay up late and watch this film. It's brilliant. You're going to love it. My dad's brilliant. He was like, I don't care if it's an alien film. You're going to appreciate all this stuff about it. He's not even a filmmaker. He's like, regular Joe. He's brilliant. But what he does is he says he knows how to, unlock stuff, and was watching it. And I remember even on a little 4x3 TV screen that we had as a kid, like, oh my God, what is that? And this whole idea, when he says it's grown out of the chair, and you're like, that's amazing. And then he ruins it years later when he has they're just giant people. No, it's grown out of the chair. That's the best thing about it. But that whole pullback, I wanted that, oh, what's this? And, and sometimes you'll get that. And then all of a sudden you're back to the little panels and you tell the story. But, yeah, sometimes visually there's something that's going to drive it. Like, I had in mind her jumping onto the tank, onto the bus and flying through the air. Not flying, but jumping. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how am I going to show that? And I didn't want one panel. I needed to tell. I needed to tell the beat. Sorry. I get so excited. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you got that visual you've got to tell, and then you write your story around it. Or sometimes you do it and then you write it and you go, no, actually, I need to change the visual now. But the third issue is going to be, Charlotte's already said, I don't know how you're going to draw this. There is so much stuff that's going to go on in issue 3. I'm still working out the roughs at the moment. But it's written. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot to draw, and I bought things to use as reference and all sorts. So I can't give it away. I mean, actually, some of the clues is, that big picture you showed up where she's hanging on to something. There's clues in some of these images. That's a print that's on Kickstarter. That's like the loco print. And so it's wondering what people read into it. And I've already had somebody who follows the art and they've gone, I know what that is. It's an XYZ. And they can tell you exactly what it is. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, because I know the reference. So, and I'm like, from a really loose painting, they got exactly what it is. And I'm like, that's crazy. But it happens.
Yeah, some people, then they're super fans, right? They'll know every little detail of every little thing. So, yeah, so...
Go on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because this is your first comic, right? And you went with Kickstarter right from issue 1.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, from your first issue when you did your Kickstarter and it got funded, like, what went through your head, like you're like taking a shot and all of a sudden, bam, this thing just funds, and like each issue, like in issue 3 up till now it's funded up to 800% or something crazy like that. So what would you like to say to all the backers, or what kind of impressions, or like what would you like to say to the people out there that have supported your book and are back or like rooting for you or that are in your corner, right?
I mean, I can't say I'm absolutely blown away by it. You know, every time I launch a thing, I'm like, oh my God, these people are buying this. And it's brilliant because I go, I didn't know I could write something that people might enjoy. You know, they may not, they might go, nah, it's a load of rubbish. I just want the cover. But I'm hoping that, you know, but they blow my mind. I mean, what's quite interesting is I had a great fan base slowly building up on Instagram. And they started to like the Blam and, you know, they were looking at the portraits and they'd seen the game and they started to see this character and I was like, oh, this is quite good. Can I get a print of this? Can I do this? And as I was trying to do it, I was thinking, have I got anything ready to go? And what was interesting was the first Kickstarter, just reaching into my box of tricks. The first Kickstarter was actually a sketchbook. And it was just a collection of some of the paintings I was doing where people, they just enjoyed what the visuals were, you know, and all the, you know, a lot of the stuff's there, but it was very loose. It was very quick. You know, there is some ink stuff, but they liked it. And I was like, hang on, I'll just do a test with this Kickstarter and see if people like it. And again, I was blown away. You know, 50 people bought the book, you know, and even 5 people buying the book is amazing, you know, because you go, who's going to buy my stuff? Who really cares? And you know, there's names on the front of the sketchbook of the people who backed it. Okay. You know, they all got to be part of the history of it. And this was long before there was actually anything, you know, like this was an A2 painting that went, it shipped all the way out into the Far East as one of the Kickstarter rewards.
Okay.
And that people got behind just the sketches. You know, my mind is blown. You know, I was like, I've not even got a story yet. And people were supporting. And that meant I could buy the iPad I use and you know, I had a little iPad mini at the time and I could use the Apple Pencil. But that meant I could actually buy an iPad Pro and start to do more. I could do bigger canvases, I could do more with it. And it's just incredible. You know,
one of the things that I can say really helps is that you have very modest prices on your tiers. I remember it was last year, I was scrolling through my Kickstarter looking at what I wanted to spend money on, and I came across this. And I was just like, oh my God, that is gorgeous. It's way better than anything I expected to see on Kickstarter. And then I read about the campaign, I looked at the book, and I'm like, oh man, this sounds so amazing. But then once again, I looked at this picture and I'm like, yeah, this guy's going to probably want $45 an issue for his book. And I went on and I got both issues for $14 of Blam Glam. It was the 1 and 2. And I was utterly thrilled to be able to pull that off because, you know, usually when you have somebody that has a comic book that's, you know, even the people that do put out black and white books, they want at least like 15 an issue, but like you were asking 8. And I was just like, how is this guy working? He's a madman, but God bless him because this thing looks beautiful. And I'd say that probably helped in your success too, is that you understand that, like, yeah, dude, my art's the shit. I could probably gouge the hell out of these people, but you know what? I'm gonna ask $8 an issue, and you know, it's having foresight like that. I think kind of helps with the campaign too, don't you think?
Yeah, you're right. It's, you know, it's funny because there'll be Kickstarters where I look at it and I go $7 or $10 for an issue. I want it, and then all of a sudden it'll be like $30 shipping, and I'm like, you know, can I do something else with that? But sometimes you go, I've got to have it, and I just want to make sure that, because I want people to have value. You know, I want it to be. It's not going to be the price of what's in a comic store, which we know. You know, they're like $2, $3, $4, $5. But I want to get as close to it as possible, you know, and that's part of why, you know, I'm going to go the wrong way now, why I've got a load of boxes sitting here. And there's loads over there. And my wife is like, you've got to sell this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's happening. It's happening. Trust me, it's fine. You know, everyone takes like on a Teams call on this in the morning, like boxes like this. And eventually I'm going to be in between working and trying to click. But it's, I purposely made sure that I could, if I overprinted, and it was a gamble, I can be left with loads of these things, but I think I did 2,000 of each issue, which then means that your cost per issue comes down, and you can go, right now, if and I have to look at it as a long game. A lot of those are over the first 8 issues to sell. So as people come back and they go, I want the first issues, they're available. There's nothing worse than like if people want to collect, for example, you want a first issue, don't you?
Of course.
And it's not like going back to when I used to read comics back in the 90s, where it was like X-Men 1 million copies of issue 1, and you're like, no, not like that. But it's not going to be near the levels of a shop, but if it's near the levels where a lot of people who want to get behind can get one, brilliant. I want them to have the first issue. I even went down to make sure that it's got the right code on it. So I'm going to go wrong way. I can't do this with the camera. But it's great. There's so much on YouTube, you can find out how to do things. I didn't know how to do the barcodes, and somebody had a great barcode video. But just to make sure that they could look at it and go, right, I've got first issue, first printing.
Uh-huh.
And this is the second variant cover or whatever, but I just wanted to make sure it was affordable. The hardest thing is the shipping, and I've managed to get it down. I mean, shipping to the States for just an issue is £6, which is something like $7 or $8. So it does bump it up a bit. But if you do 2 issues at the same time, it does make it better. But it's not things that you can. I'm trying to make sure it's not $30. That's just crazy. But I want to make sure it's as affordable as possible. If somebody wants, you don't get tracking, but you do get airmail. It should come to you within a week or 2. And there have been cases, especially with COVID, where stuff's gone missing. And as soon as they tell me, I'm like, can you just hang on just another couple more days or a week, and we'll see. And I'll try and get it out again. It doesn't matter that Royal Mail says who's our provider here. You guys are UPS. Somebody uses UPS. I know it's like in Canada, but Royal Mail like, hey, international shipping, it's 5 weeks past the expected delivery time. That's when you can claim. I'm not worried about it. I want people to have it in hand.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure, if people buy the higher tiers, they're getting proper shipping and tracking, even better. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody does an A3 piece, it's got an A3 poster in it, or like heavier rewards, they go through a FedEx or somebody like that, which means you normally get it in about 3 days, but it's already worked out. But you're right, I just want to make sure it's not priced out of the thing, and it's probably easier for me because I've got a full-time job that is paying all the bills. This is that fun thing I'm doing on the side to see, could I build momentum? And it means that I can price in a way that I don't have to I don't need it to live off of, if you know what I mean. It's so I can build more and up the quality for more people to read. I want what blows my mind, and this comes back to the point you made, Joe, is that I go, somebody's reading my book in China, in Canada, in Germany, in Taiwan, and I go, that's just amazing. Somebody's taking time. They've done this on Kickstarter, which is why I think Kickstarter is so good. Is it brings that global audience to you, and if you can find a way to deliver it, I think it's just good. But I think if people start thinking about doing a Kickstarter, I'd say before you launch something, make sure you're building your audience on whichever is your social media, of choice.
Yeah. And from talking to you, Schlepzig, EPHK. And one thing I've noticed that all of you have in common is you've built a huge following, or a very good following, on Instagram. And I've been noticing that Instagram is a good catalyst to build, especially for an artist. Like visually, I think Instagram is probably the place. If you're an artist and you're thinking about a Kickstarter, I mean, from the sounds of it, it sounds extremely important to get your Instagram account up, post pictures, get a following on Instagram, because it seems to translate well to Kickstarter afterwards. And I think that's a good tip for any artist out there that's looking for maybe in the future doing a Kickstarter. Just get your stuff out on Instagram, because that seems to be the reoccurring theme that I've been seeing from artists is Instagram translates well for artists, and you get people like to follow. It's a very visual platform of social media. It's not like Twitter where it's all comments, and it's more of a visual platform, which lends itself very well to artists.
I mean, that's what you're right, because I originally tried to do stuff on Twitter. It's great to engage with people's campaigns and engage with you guys and chat about stuff. You're right. But the great thing about Instagram is you can look back through the feed and see where things originated and how they grew and how it progressed and changed.
Mhm.
And you're right, and people see that, they see the consistency in the body of work, and then they're willing to take more of a risk. On, they'll go, do you know what, I'm going to give this, I quite like what you're doing, or it sounds interesting, and I can see you've got a building. You're building up something. It's funny, I'll be writing or drawing, and sometimes I'll be sitting on a bed drawing on my iPad for the character. I'll be drawing the panel, and I'll have YouTube open on the TV, which, if I said that a year ago, I'd be like, you're crazy, that doesn't work. But it's now built into Skybox, so I go, okay, brilliant, let's watch this. Yeah. And I'll put on the Image interviews, like, the history of Image, or the one where there's a guy for Sci-Fi Channel talks to Todd McFarlane. And I know it all by heart now, but I'm hearing it in the background, it's helping. And there's one thing he says, and he's talking about the toys story, which is where he's doing his first toy, he's in that big show, he's in a little tiny room with lots of people, and in comes the Toys R Us buyer and all that sort of thing. And he says, it's great to listen to, it builds your confidence in everything you're doing, it's worth watching. And he says, this Toys R Us buyer would not have looked at his stuff, but he had somebody with him who was an Image comics collector who knew about him, who said, Bosh, you need to look at this, that guy I was telling you about. And you go, that's what people do when they can see your body of work. They go, I like this, and they see, and they might read the story and then go, the art was good, but I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter, that you've given them something to invest in. But I think also what's good about Instagram is you can connect with your audience in a visual way, where you talk to them. They might say, can you paint me something? Can you draw something for me? Sometimes it's them, or sometimes you engage with people and you say, I'd love to draw you. Blake, is it Blake's class?
Yeah.
I saw Blake and I was like, I'd like to paint that picture of you if you don't mind. And I sent it to him, and now he uses it on one of his things, and it was just free. Sometimes you just want to, you see somebody doing something brilliantly, and at some point you both of you're going to get a portrait coming. So watch out, yeah. When I see what you are, Johnny, then you'll get a portrait.
Yeah.
It's like you connect with people,
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to a question. Do you wish that Kickstarter had a way for you to interface with the audience a little better? Maybe had an element of Instagram to it, where you could actually have like a social kind of conversation with the backers? Would that be something that you would be interested in maybe having in the future for a platform like them?
Yeah, I think so, because they've got, Instagram's got some great tools. They've got so many amazing things on there. Hey, Adrian Cleric.
Yeah.
It's got so many cool things on there. But the one I find really hard is somebody says to me, like, if I've drawn something as part of the reward, I want to get their feedback. I'm going, look, here's what I'm thinking for your painting. You can't attach any images into it. You can't share something. Same as when there's the chats, like the FAQs or the questions. Mm-hmm. You can't put anything into it unless you deep link it from something else. And I'd love to be able to upload an image to that so they can see something happening in response to the conversation. And you're right. It's not just it's to everyone. It's to that person, but people can see you're interacting. I think it'd be great. And there's other things that I wish Kickstarter would do, like could I duplicate my current Kickstarter so it's ready for issue 4, so I don't have to type everything again. I'd love that, copy paste.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason why you can't.
And then you just change the images, right? You just swap out the replace button, right? Like in video editing, you could put the little boxes and just replace and just change the images or the videos. Yeah.
Whereas I have to make notes of each time I've done. I've got so many notes on my computer where I go, right, this is the price of everything. This is the price of all the extra bits. Because you have to price up options for people. Like I do the rewards, and I work out what their postage is. And then when I say, right, somebody might want more than one copy of something. They might read one and put one to one side.
Okay,
or they give one away. And so you build add-ons. And then you're trying to think, right, so if I do an add-on, what's the what's the postage difference? And you're thinking it's a couple of pounds because it's about weight.
Mhm.
But you're trying to remember so that time, you don't go, somebody doesn't go, I paid £5 extra for that last time. Why am I doing it? You want to make sure it's fair. And I think that might be one way to replicate, but then you can adjust it as you go. But I mean, it's as a platform, again, it's brilliant. It just connects you with so many people who are after something cool. They're looking for something interesting. They want to be part of something. They want something to collect. And I think it's just amazing. I thought the Apple Store was amazing for the apps. When I first, there's a place everyone can connect. This is head and shoulders above it because you can still engage with people. But I wish, you're right, Johnny, could you engage more with them in a more social way? Because you don't want to keep updating the page. You want to have a channel where you can connect to it. And I know that's posting updates, but it doesn't necessarily feel like you're necessarily responding in the best way. Do you know what I mean? It feels a bit more like Twitter.
Yeah, updates feel a little generic, and a lot of people I know just abuse them. Like they will update you from like their first Kickstarter about what's going on with a completely different book that you're not interested in. And so there's couple things about like the update system that really kind of irk me about Kickstarter. And like, yeah, I would wish that it would be better if like there was a way that they could just put out a message to anybody that's kind of backed them, and if there was like a way you could just follow the creator, and the creator could maybe follow you back, and you could talk to each other. Because I mean, a lot of people on there are like me and Joe are super backers and stuff, so that means that we are very interested in the platform. We throw a lot of money at it, and I'm invested in quite a few folks on here, like Jordan Thompson, Josh Thompson, Josh Thomas, or Jonathan Thomas. I got a lot of buddies that like whose books that I back no matter what whenever they have a new one out. So it would be really great if I could cut out the middleman and not have to go on Twitter, and I could just talk to these guys on Kickstarter if they made that a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think Twitter wants that, because I think a lot of people would be jumping ship from Twitter if that happened.
That's the only reason why I'm on there, is so I could talk to creators and stuff. I want off that site so bad, but I have a responsibility to stay in contact with you guys, and that's the best way to do it, really.
Watch Johnny's greatest nightmare in 2022 come true, is Twitter or Kickstarter is going to buy one or the other, so they're going to be directly connected, and then fucking Johnny's going to go into a depression. And
would be like a Twitter starter or a
Twit starter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because you do get people get in touch, and some people are backers and some people aren't. I mean, you get the standard ones, which is, hey, we can help get you the exposure, and they're like, no, sorry, no, you don't know anything about this, so no. But then you get ones where they reach out and they go, look, this is like it's funny because I mean, we were talking about a month ago, talking about PDFs, and now afterwards PDFs are in now. And I remember somebody saying on the first or second issue, is a PDF version available? And I was worried. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Do you mind bearing with me? But now somebody jumped in and I went, do you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet, because Underglow Comics said it could be good for you because it will get connection to an audience that isn't, shipping is an issue. Mm-hmm. They want just now. I want it in digital space, and I get it. And I go, and so Underglow said, you should really start to offer it. It'll be a good thing. And and I remember you, Johnny, saying, can we get some issues to look at? And actually, I'm going to send you both PDFs afterwards, so you've got the actual, not that time expired thing, which is just a demo. But it's a way to connect with people. And somebody said what they're after, and then you go, do you know what? I'll build it in. Somebody said they wanted I do an ink in the issue. They get hand-drawn A5 ink on like really beautiful, like Faber-Castell, sort of cartridge paper. It's drawn quite nicely, and that will come in with their comic. And somebody said, actually, look, I'm buying all this other stuff, but I've already bought the red issue and I don't really want the standard one. Could you do the ink as a separate one? I said, yeah, no problem. Let me look at it. Problem is, you still got to have something to back. So I said, look, I've just seen you've gone for the sketchbook. Let me do the sketchbook as a reward. Then that way you can choose that as your basis, then add the ink, and then you won't have to pay for an issue.
Yeah.
And I try to accommodate where possible. It's not always possible because sometimes some things can't be done. But you listen and you work out, even though you may not have something now, you might say, look, I am open to it. And then when something comes out later that they had and they might have missed out, I will then go back through a couple of Kickstarters and see if there was those questions. So there was a couple of PDF people, and I said, by the way, it is now available. No pressure, there's no problem, but just to let you know, and it's quite good in that way because you can engage with people and you can see stuff.
But I think also touching back on the PDF is you made a great point yourself. Is a lot of people are slowly going digital because of the space issue. Like you said, pretty soon with your next Kickstarter, you'll probably be working with boxes all around you. And my wife's vaguely in passing, she's mentioned, where are you going to put all your comics? She's like, I come home from the shop each week, and she's like, that office is too small. My office is getting too small. So, and I have friends that have switched to digital because they just don't want to pay for a storage locker to put their books in. So they're like, we're going digital, right? So, I think more and more people, especially now with Kickstarter and the number of indie books that are out and popular now, out in the market. There's so many books to buy now. And I think more and more people are going digital because just to save the space. And on your commute to work, it's so much easier to pull out a tablet if you want to read a comic on your tablet. And I think it's still, because there's a lot of purists and people want that physical book. And I completely understand that. And I am one of them. I enjoy having a physical copy, but I don't frown upon PDFs or digital, or I love it almost as much as a physical copy because I'm considering selling a chunk of my collection now because just for space. For the issue that I don't have the space anymore to collect physically. I have to do something. I'm not going to start renovating my house and making an addition onto the house just to store my goddamn comics. After a while, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
People in the playroom, and you've got, here's my comics room. It's like a whole wing of the house.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Richard's got a built-in defense for that anyways, man. Blam Glam is way too pretty to look at it just digital only. So I'm pretty sure anybody that gets a look at this book is going to buy a physical copy just to see that color, man. It's a dark book, but at the same time it's very vivid. You know what I mean? It's something that you're going to want to look at. And in my opinion, digital will never cut it as looking at a print.
Yeah, but it's an option for.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I'm a purist. I ain't never gonna be a digital boy. Even though I do like them, so we can review. Do have reviews for the show, so they have their place in the world. I will admit. I'm not like Matt, where I completely frown on him. We have a cast member who will not touch a PDF. So
no, he refuses.
Adrian's saying there, it's handy because you can engage with people. I don't have to mail out a physical copy to someone, especially if it's in the States. And you're totally right, Adrian. It's a way of engaging with people. It's funny because under this table, this is a makeshift table. Under this table is 2 comic boxes from the 90s. I collected from sort of 91 to 93. At the time I was a big X-Men fan. Jim Lee and everyone jumped ship and went to Created Image. I was like, I'm going to buy some of these Image comics. My favorite one actually didn't come out till later. It's funny. This is still one of my treasured possessions. And I know they printed billions of these or whatever, but
that works.
The Weird Potato one, and
that's Silvestri, right? Or
Willis.
Potato, yeah. I never know how to say his name. I always go Wilchie, or I don't know. Will, I've even got there was a sticker that or a trading card that was in a Wizard at the time, and I've even got a black and white version where he sort of previewed because he didn't come to it too late. So there was a tragedy, but I was like, that's the comic I want, But in now is stuff, and I stopped collecting because I was a big X-Men, as I said, big X-Men fan. I was X-Men, Uncanny, X-Men, X-Factor, and especially when it was even after the big guns left and it carried on, up till 25, which is when you had I don't know if you read X-Men much, but you had the holographic covers, and the story was incredible. Greg Capulco, I think, was doing X-Force, and just this stuff was brilliant. I love the whole Cable story. What was going on with him, and so when they did wasn't Extinction Agenda, that was brilliant.
Executioner's Song, right?
Executioner's Song, yeah, with Strife.
And then afterwards they did Cyclops and Phoenix, which was the story of them going to take care, which was just stunning in terms of the story. But what I found was immediately afterwards, some of those artists started leaving. Capulco went somewhere else. I don't know. I probably got his name wrong. I apologize for that.
I think he went on to do Spawn after.
Did he do Spawn?
He and Tony Daniels were splitting duties on Spawn because I think Spawn was releasing bi-weekly, so that you had both those guys doing art on Spawn.
That was my Image jam right there. I loved The 10th by Tony Daniels. That was my favorite for old school Image. But
I think I bought some. I bought a couple, like 5 issues of Wetworks. I had some of the ones from Cyberforce. I had some of the Prophet, and I'd had Wildcats, and I unfortunately I sold Wildcats, and I wish I'd kept it because they had that thing where you did, like, I don't know, was it like the first 6 issues, and then they gave you issue 25, and your mind was like, oh, you've given me part of the future. What's going on? And then of course you read to catch up to. I never read to catch up to that point, because at the time I was then going to college, and I sort of fell out of comics in terms of I thought I can't do this. I need to concentrate on a career, and that became advertising, sort of thing. But it's funny, I was reading X-Men, and all of a sudden they done the Phalanx Covenant, and I'm sorry, it just tanked. It was awful.
Yeah.
I went no more. I said no. All the Claremont, all the clever stuff, all the stuff I've been building for decades, just went, and I was like, no, I'm out. And I kept it because I love so much of that stuff. I remember there was a Sinister story where all of a sudden in one of the Andy Kubert's, I think it was around issue 25 of X-Men, the reboot, the restart one. I say reboot, they're doing like a gajillion ones now, but there was Sinister turning up, and he hinted at a third X-Men, a third Summers brother, and I was like, oh my god, who's that going to be? It's going to be amazing. And then all of a sudden Phalanx Covenant or whatever it's called happened, and I went, I don't care. I'm out. And it's a shame because, it's quite good. I mean, I've tried to read recently, and there's some nice ones like Marauders and stuff, but I can't get back to where I was. And I think that's where I lost my flow as well. And it was only in the past 5 or 6 years that, me and my friend Adam, and I said, we've gone to comic shops and we chatted, and I've started to pick up things again. Like, over there now is a whole lot of the, like the 4-issue Image collections of books. So you read like Paper Girls. Oh my god, brilliant. I've got about 3 of the 4 volumes of the 4-issue volumes, and I'm collecting in that way now. But you're right, those 2 boxes under there, they're taking up masses of space. And as I buy more comic issues, there's a pile over there, the pile down there, and the pile there. I haven't even got a box for them. And my wife's like, I'm going to tidy your room when you're not looking.
Yeah.
Please don't. You'll ruin it.
Yeah, that's the problem with Kickstarter and me too. It's got me back into collecting floppies. I was getting trades, which fit so much nicer on shelves, and I have a nice little library thing set up. And now, I just have all these random issues, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to buy a new box, and I'm gonna have to try to make space in my closet with all my old X-Men floppies, all my old Vertigo books, because I almost cut it out. I had almost gotten rid of the collector side of comic book reading, but I don't know. Kickstarter got me back into it, so thanks for that. I mean, it's a little fun though. I really enjoy it. The few variants and stuff I have got of like your book and like Adrian's book. Like I haven't really gotten too far into it, but.
Well, it's like Adrian's. I can't wait for Adrian's book to arrive. Because I'm going to read that. I saw that, and I was like.
Did you get to read it at all? Did he?
I was like, I know I've not read any of it, and I've just seen this, and I'm like, I can't wait. But you know what? Right, we talk about space. I bought the figure. Where's the figure gonna go? I need to make sure it's damaged and it doesn't get broken. And I've got to find.
Gonna snuggle at night after you read the comic, man. Like,
well, I think it's a blister pack. With like it might have a little hole like where you put, so you could just pin it on your wall like that. I think. That's what I plan on doing. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna hang it on the wall. I think mine when I get it. Yeah, I should be getting it. I should be getting it soon. He mailed it out on Monday, I think. So I should be getting mine the beginning of next week. I'm hoping.
Because you're in Canada as well with
Yeah.
Adrian.
Yeah. So
you'll be like quite fast. What's going to happen is I'm going to get a letter through from the Royal Mail. They're going to go, we'd like to deliver your file, your thing, but there's a little charge to pay. And I'll be like, okay. So now I've got to walk up to the post office, which is good because I need the exercise, and then walk back again before I can open it. You know, but it'll be worth it. Brilliant.
But just open it at the post office and be like, "Yeah, bitch, I got a Tricovi." It's right there.
We haven't got anything here. Nothing's arrived.
I'm gonna walk into the post office, and if I smell sausage in there, I'll be like, "Yeah, my package came in. Fuck yeah." It smells like sausage in here, man.
I like it, but collectible. I love stuff like that. I love figures. Yeah. Because we were chatting a bit before, and I'm starting to get into sculpting. Yeah. There's part of a YouTube channel where you can see me making stuff, and I'm a big gamer. I mean, I'm a sucker for a box, right? One of my favorite games of all time. Metal Gear Solid, and this was a Japanese box set. This came out in 2004, and I had a friend who was going to Hong Kong at the time and said, could you please see if you can pick this up for me? And oh my god, there's so much goodness in this box, but look at this. I mean, this is the Metal Gear Solid 3 was set in Russia, and so they do this whole Russian, this word, yes, there's Shagohod, which is the name of the boss you fight, and you think this is an Airfix kit, it's going to be amazing. No, it's even better than that. It's actually a pre-made, painted thing. Just beautiful. It feels period. The whole thing was just incredible.
I just want a cover of the packaging box, man. Like that cover, that painting is beautiful, dude. Like somebody put some quality work into that. And
I'm like, my wife's like, why do you have this? And I'm like, why don't I have this? This stuff, I mean, over there, I mean, I'm a Metal Gear nut. Every time the only game I haven't played is the second part of Metal Gear 5. I played the first part, and that's because I didn't have a PlayStation 4 at the time. I now have a PlayStation 4 just to play the new game, which was Death Stranding, because I was watching people on YouTube play it, and I'm like, this game looks amazing. And most people look at this game and they go, it's a walking simulator. It's not. It's a whole other ball game. And when I got into it, and over there is a massive box set, which has in Death Stranding is this figure that's like a baby attached to you, which can sense dead spirit things that have crossed over from the world. It gets very complicated, but it's amazing. It got me into sculpting, and so my fourth sculpture, this probably isn't going to come out very well. It's probably going to be a bit blown out by the light, but it's based on the main character. I mean, you can't see, there's actually a baby. Let's get this right. There's actually a baby in here, and it's been done as the light's terrible, and I'm dropping bits now. But I wired it up. I cast it in resin. I made the things, and it was just such a fun experience to try and do. And it was such an amazing game. I just wanted to build something. Yeah. And then I did a bug for it, like when you're sculpting. Problem is, it took about 24 hours to make, because I was like sculpting, picking up, come back, carve, and making all the, there's like all these little details. Like there's these packages that he delivers, and I was working on those. Even there's a light over his shoulder, and it was cutting each individual element. I was basically rolling out clay, baking it, and then cutting it like it was plastic. And it's crazy, but you get into this stuff. But yeah, like, the minute I saw Adrian's figure, I'm like, I need that figure.
Yeah, I was trying to hold off, but I caved right at the last. I think there was like 4 hours left to his campaign. There's still 2 of them left, and I'm like, I have to get it now. There's still 2 left. See, that's what that was the rule I made for myself. Like, because I try to be as responsible fiscally as possible. So I was like, I'll wait till like near the end, like when there's 4 hours left, and if there's any left, I'll grab one. And if there isn't, then I'll save myself a little bit of money. And there was still 1 or 2 left, so I was like, I'll grab it.
And actually, this comes back to that thing where I reached out to Adrian because the figure was a bonus, but I'd ordered something else, and I said, could you please do it as an add-on? And he went, okay. And so they got the add-on figure, and I could add it to the thing I wanted, which was great. You respond to that, and then my wife went, "What's this credit card charge here?" And I went, "That's for the business."
That's for the business.
And it's good because it's supporting other people, you know, and it's something I want to collect. But also you can see how it's made, and you can go, "Oh, I'd love to create something with that sort of thing." And you know, and that's half this thing, whether you're on Twitter, Instagram, or Kickstarter, is you start to build connections with other artists, and you inspire each other, you know, and you go, "Oh my God, that's amazing. I'd love, you know, I'd love to do something with that, or how can I help?" There's one that's about to fund, might be tomorrow, and it's Gifford the Clown.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy that finally funded, too. I was worried about it, man. It was taking a while to get even halfway done. I was like, no, please.
They were at 50%, and I was like, I couldn't, I wanted it. And I said, look, can I do something on it? Could I do a little A5 sketch painting? Free, you give it away, you know, as a little, if you reach 100%. And so that's going to get done. And it's
that's awesome. That's really awesome.
But you want people to succeed, and I go, they can succeed perfectly well on your own, but if you can give that extra little bit something that may push, it could be good. You know, and there's so many great people, like, you know, I've talked to Adrian, he's brilliant. I've talked to Gary at Underglow as well, and you just learn things from each other. You know, Boo Tunes is somebody I know from Kickstarter, Instagram, and he draws great comics. He's got a great style, and you know, boobies and stuff and all sorts of, but he's got a great style, and he can just draw. He's the person I wish I could, you know, if I could draw, he literally, it just tumbles out of his head, and he's got an amazing ink drawing. And I said to him, you should do a Kickstarter, you'd kill it. And he absolutely kills it. He does brilliantly, you know. And it's a great way to get yourself out, but you get that confidence from each other. You know, there's lots that I'm not confident about, and somebody will go, look, if you try this, it might work for you.
Yeah,
you know, it might work for your audience, and you know, it's quite exciting. Sorry, I can bang on for hours.
Yeah. Hey, but it's great. I mean, that's great that you reach out to, like, you saw something you liked and you want to, like, lend a helping hand. That's awesome. That, like, you guys within the Kickstarter community, like, help each other so much and have each other's back. Because, I mean, it's not easy. It's a hustle. And if, like, every little bit helps, and it's wonderful that, you know, you guys reach out to one another and give each other a hand.
Well, the better you all do, the more people come back. And if you guys have a little click, and if you guys have a little economy going where, like, if you like this guy's stuff, you'll like my stuff, because we bounce ideas off each other. And you know, maybe if I back, you know, one of Adrian's books, your PDFs might be a reward tier to it. A lot of people do that. Well, they'll have their buddies' books PDFs as a reward tier for their campaign. And I'm like, I always love when they do that, because I'll be like, I wanted to get that book, and now I can, you know what I mean? Like, sweet.
Yeah. And it's also that thing. I know that's, if you're not done Kickstarter before, people will be worried, if I talk about somebody else, then my sales will go that way. No, and actually, it doesn't matter if something that you sold, somebody cancels because they're going to back that. Not a problem, because it's your community. You know, you want that to succeed, and it's not saying, you know, like, there's just something interesting about, you know, I like this art, and there's diverse art I like. You know, Adrian's has an amazing style I've never seen before. And you both talked about this, Johnny and Joe. Who else draws a comic like that? It's brilliant. I'm like, that's got to arrive in this house, you know, so I can read, and and also I want to hold it. And it's, you know, and that's part of it, you know. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing where Kickstarter is maybe superior to any other part of the comics industry, like publishers, where you can find these comics that are a little more, that publishers maybe don't want to take a chance on because they're afraid, because it's so different, so original, that will it have an audience? But with Kickstarter, you go find that audience, right? And then you find the people that believe in it, like you said, and you just help each other out to push the book. Like I just like Adrian, like you said, I just happened to, he followed me on Twitter and I started talking to him and I saw his Kickstarter. So I was like, oh, go check it out. And then, like you said, I saw the pages. And I was like, oh man, I just fell in love with it instantly. And I had to back it right away. And, you know, it's just little connections like that that can snowball and turn into something great. And I look at Kickstarter right now, the comic section of Kickstarter, and it makes me think of Image back in the day, where you guys are getting out there and you're putting something of your own out there that's with no rules. You guys make your own rules. You don't have someone telling you what you can and can't do. And I love that. I think that's the best part about it, is you're getting the true form of expression of what you wanted to put out there without an editor or someone kind of telling you what you can and can't do. So these books are truly the expression of the creators themselves and what they, like, 100% what they wanted to put out, more or less. Right. And that's what's wonderful about a lot of these Kickstarters, is it allows you to express yourself the way you wanted to.
And it's like, you know, I'm going to get things wrong with this. It's my first comic, you know, and it's quite interesting that people go, look, you know, it's part of what you're doing. Let's see. You know, if there's a mistake in this, there's one mistake in the first issue that I really wish I'd picked up on, but actually it's minor, and I'm sure it's sort of answered by another bit later on. But you know, when you look at it, you go, oh, I wish I'd spotted that before it went out. And it's not a biggie, but, you know, somebody go, I spotted that. But,
yeah. I mean, it happens on Big 2 books too. So, I mean,
yeah,
it does happen. I mean,
it's like the one thing I'm not good at is lettering. On mine it's a type font. I try and fit in the space. It's a bit crude. It sort of, perhaps it adds something to the story. I don't know. You know, there's people who can do beautiful lettering and beautiful typography, and I'm like, look, I work in advertising. I'm a designer. Part of me is a designer. I'm not anywhere near as good as. I'll never call myself a proper designer because I'm more of an ideas person. But, you know, that I'm sort of fudging. I'm sort of trying to make it work. You know, it's funny, like with the logo. You know, I spent ages trying to do. The logo's gone through lots of different iterations. You know, when it was the sketchbook, it was like, it's just a font, you know.
yeah.
And but you can see
the idea is there though. It's right side up and upside down like it is now. So you had the blueprint.
The basic idea was down.
But it's like, you know, there's a reason why there's an upside down Blam Glam, you know, and you know, sometimes I do that. But anyway, but it's again, there's little clues that maybe add to things, you know, might plant ideas in people's heads. And I think you both talked about earlier is you want to reward someone for reading or watching or whatever it is you're making, that they make the jumps. You know, you show them a couple of doors and see which way they go. And that may be, they make the connections, or they may go, it's like one of my favorite TV shows is the first 2 seasons of Westworld. It's just, for me, it's just brilliant. You know, I grew up. When I say grow up, not grow up. I was working when Lost came out, and I loved the first 3 or 4 seasons of Lost, and then it gone. You know, I still watched it to the end, but I was like, but I used to love the filling in the blanks, water cooler chat. What's that? What the hell was? And that's what you do. And I'm trying to build that in so that people make connections themselves, whether they're right or wrong. But also, like with Westworld, there's the brilliant opening where I don't know how many people have seen it, but Teddy's on the train, one of the characters, and the dialogue is a voiceover from one of the Westworld characters talking to somebody else, but it incuts and it says about the, it's not the strangers, the guests. You know, tell me about the guests. He's asking one of the theme park androids, the main character one. And she says, oh, we love the guests. And you see Teddy, and they're throwing you down this whole journey of this guy is a guest, and then 2 minutes later he's killed by someone, and you go, oh shit, he wasn't a guest, he was one of the robots. And then you go, right, so this whole thing is about tricking you, this whole thing's about, we're going to send you here and then round the head with this right hook you didn't even see. And I love that. There's a thing in we're always looking at advertising, we're always looking at other categories. We call it other categories. You're looking outside of what you're working on to get inspiration. And I remember there was I think it was a Venezuelan millionaire who one day tweeted, like the pharaohs who bury their stuff when they die, I'm going to bury my $200,000, however much it is, Bentley in my garden, and I'm going to bury it in the next 2 weeks. And everyone's like, in absolute outrage. 200, or however much it is, that money can be spent on a hospital wing, can be spent on this. And then he sends out a second tweet and he says, and we're going to hold a press conference, see you next week, that sort of thing. And you're like, again, the whole country is going crazy. That this guy's well known for doing this sort of stuff, and he holds his press conference, and he's got this hole dug in his garden, and he's got the Bentley ready to push in. And right before he pushes in, he says, "Stop! We're going to go inside now and have a conversation." He takes them inside the house, and then he addresses all the media. It's like a media thing. They're all taking photograph, filming, and everything for the news. And he says, for the past 2 weeks, you've been going crazy at me that I'm about to bury a car in the ground, right? When every day we are burying people's organs that could be used to save lives. And all of a sudden, the dialogue has changed. We've sent you this way. Whoever's created it sent you this way to have an argument about this person who's well known for misspending or whatever it is he does. And actually, he was getting you to understand and talk about
another issue. Yeah.
And you go, brilliant. If you can do that, you take people on board and you answer that question, So, sorry, I get excited about
So you got some left and right turns coming for us in issue 3, I take it, as you're kind of hinting at, huh?
Well, I think, in the next couple of issues, there's all sorts of things coming. The next one, I'll give you a clue, is action. There's going to be, hopefully, a shit ton of action in issue 3 that's written. Hopefully I can pull off the visual. And then it's going to be 4 and 5 and 6 where you start to expand understanding of the characters and the story. And work out, because it's funny, when you look at Glam, when you look at Glam, people make assumptions about her. Even like people make assumptions about the comic, which I want them to do. The question is, are your assumptions right? And this is where it gets quite interesting because you play on stereotypes, or you play on what you believe something's about, and then you understand hopefully something underneath it. So there's going to be a couple of turns where things are revealed and things aren't, or you think they're revealed, which is quite interesting. But my problem is my brain's going to the end. I'm like, hey, I know the end of issue 8, but and who this person is. But it'll be quite interesting. It's quite cool that Johnny, you picked up on the robot hands. There was like such a throwaway thing in that issue, but the giant robot hands.
Well, the thing is you kept it so understated, I had no choice but to remember it. I mean, it seemed like you were trying to be like, hey, check this out. This is kind of cool, but forget about it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
It's fine.
Because you did. It was because kind of mentioned, and you see it like in one really cool panel where you think Glam's going to have to go to battle with him, and then it's just kind of like, oh, hey, no, these other robots are here, and you're just like, that's going to come back. That's going to be huge. So,
but there's also things like the there's those really weird cutaways. So you get a cutaway to he looks like Boris Johnson. I called him Ivan Thompson, so you can tell it's in that sort of space. But the Prime Minister of Great Britain in an alternative world, which this is set in, the pandemonic, the whole, it's 2000, but it's a different 2000, a different series of events. But there's things in like that, all of a sudden you get an Ivan Thompson Prime Minister thing, which is slowly revealing one part of it, and then you've got something even crazier and wackier happening. And I don't know if you know the pages I'm talking about, but there's all of a sudden something completely different, and you're like, what is that? Hopefully. So yeah, I'm trying to mix the media, but we'll have to see, or we'll have to see what the story is. We'll see. But yeah, it's quite interesting to write the next ones. But yeah, drawing this one is a challenge. I'm going to be very busy over Christmas.
Well, you've obviously found your audience because this third issue back gangbusters. And just to remind everyone that's watching, Glam and Blam issue 3. There's still 2 days left, 48 hours left to back it. So get out there, back this book because it's gaining traction, and you don't want to miss the boat on this because visually it's stunning. And the action is fun. If you like a dark sci-fi kind of horror tale, this is definitely something that'll be right up your alley.
And if you just want to check it out, it's like I said, it's reasonably priced. But if you don't mind spending a little more money, there are some really amazing covers that have been unlocked, add-ons that you could get for this. The red covers are particularly always so lovely for this book, so definitely take a peek at those.
They definitely pop.
I know one or two people that only collect the red covers and I just want the red one.
I mean, look at that. Who doesn't want that cover? You know what I mean?
It's funny though, with the third issue, I'm looking at the standard cover and I'm thinking, that's my favorite. Like the new third issue red one is quite beautiful, but I'm actually looking and going, how did I paint that?
That's actually how it is with the first issue. Like, I love the A cover with just her and the 6-eye behind her. Like, with the white background, it's my favorite one. I mean, it's just the perfect image for the first issue, in my opinion.
And another thing I'd like to just remind people is your Instagram. Go check out Richard's Instagram because you have some great process videos that are awesome to watch. The process videos of your painting and your steps. So just to get an idea of your process, people should go on your Instagram and check out those process videos because there's a few on there that are just fantastic. They're fun to watch.
It's funny that that's what I love about Procreate is it stores a video as you're painting, and it's funny because I spoke about on the train painting people. One day I got off from my local station to my station in London, which is where I normally work. It's lockdown, so we were working from home at the moment. Walking past this one person, she was a courier sitting in the window of this shop, and her bike was to one side. And I said, "Look, I paint people. Would you mind if I took a photo?" And I showed her my Instagram quickly. It's always gonna be weird reaching out to people. Yeah. I said, "Do you mind if I paint this for free? I'll get you a beautiful giclée print made afterwards. Not that everybody knows what that is, but I'll go." And she said, "Yeah, no worries." And I took this photo. It was just amazing because she was in the middle of this window that talked about delivery, and she was a courier, with a bicycle. And I think it was about 10 days later, I went past the same bit and she was there. It must be where she has a regular break. And I showed her the painting. And I could show her the process as well. You could see the process.
Yeah.
And then I think it was about 2 weeks later that there was another guy sitting in the same bit, another courier, and I took a photo. And then she turned up. She went, "Yeah, I know him, and he's been expecting you."
So he's been going there every day waiting for you to come by in the hopes of you taking his picture to make a painting.
And I think both of them, they were brilliant. I loved them. It was so good. It was like like when life is just happening and you just observe something. Mm-hmm. It was like that. Yeah, in that painted style, but
yeah.
And then I've done things like ink drops through London where I've done a quick sketch on the train, put it in a sort of A5 sleeve, and then hidden it behind things in London. And on the back is my handwritten Instagram. And then people will find it and get in touch and they get free painting, which is quite fun. But yeah,
that's fun.
Oh, you do treasure hunts with your fans. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I need to do more with I can't leave the comic anywhere. Somebody go, "That's just rude." But but yeah, with the drawings, I quite like to put in, bits and pieces once in a while and see. But yeah.
Yeah. It's worth going to check it out because those process videos are pretty cool.
But yeah, as I say, when I get a decent picture of each of you, just watch out. You're going to be immortalized.
I have a couple on Instagram if you're looking for what my mug looks like. But I'll if you want, I can take a picture and send it to you too. But yeah, I'm bald. All right, I'm gonna paint
Cool,
me
yeah.
with hair. Paint me with amazing. I want anime hair. Give me like some Dragon Ball shit, dude. That's how I want to be painted.
Big,
Uh,
big wrinkles and stuff. You know, when I
yeah.
was in school, when I was in school, when I was growing up, I had my hair grows like this. It just would grow, and I remember thinking, "Hey, I'm going to have hair till I'm in my 80s." No, it grows so fast it disappears. And like normal person, 2 weeks they get like a sort of like a month they get a haircut. After a week, mine's like. And my friends used to call me Edam after the big round cheese, and it was almost like an afro. So in some ways, Benny is a bit like me. You know, I had hair like that. It was just natural. It just would happen. But where's it gone? You know.
Yeah, that's age, man. We all go through it. I may not be as bald, but I've thinned a
No,
little bit
you've
over
got
the
a
years.
full head of hair. You're all right.
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. That's from my father's side. They've got good genes when it comes to the hair. So
Oh, no, brilliant.
yeah.
But
But
all right, well, I don't want to
yeah,
keep Richard all night. It's getting pretty late for him over there in
yeah,
the UK, so we're gonna kind of button this up. Richard, we were gonna go ahead and give you some time to go ahead and plug all your socials again and talk about your game and your Kickstarter if you want. So go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean the Kickstarter. Just on Kickstarter, search for Blam Glam. We're going to be one of the few things that come up. Um, you know, there's things to do. You can get PDF on there, so you can read it if you don't want to get through the post. But yeah, if you like the art and you want a physical copy, hopefully they're more affordable than normal. But just people reading is really cool. On Instagram, I'm Richard A. Morgan, as opposed to, as I said before, Richard K. Morgan. Every time Altered State came up, was it Altered State? Was that the one on uh what's the channel on Netflix? Altered Carbon. Altered
Altered
Carbon.
Carbon.
okay,
Okay.
yeah,
People say, I really like your TV program and your series. I'm like, that's fantastic. That's not me. I'm A Morgan as opposed to K Morgan. But anyway, so I'm Richard A Morgan, all one word on Instagram. Come along. It is sometimes a bit not suitable for work. Hopefully, most of the time it is. I like painting shiny people, and but actually that's because I don't. Life can be a bit boring to paint, so I try to paint something a bit more out there, especially if someone enjoys what they're doing. I love painting. People enjoying what they're doing. There is some stuff on. There's the model making, which is on YouTube, which I think is Richard Morgan Art, but there's only a couple of videos on there. So only if you're bored and you want to find out how somebody can make it badly and then it might work, please go ahead. But thank you. I'm going to have Jurate tomorrow because I've had a lot of fun.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you. We, of course, are going to be wishing all you guys a very happy holiday, and we have a very special surprise for you because we will be live on Christmas Day. We were going to be doing a Naughty or Nice episode. Me and Joe, we have some really fun topics planned out, and hopefully, we're going to have the entire cast. All the guys are going to be back because, you know, we're a bunch of middle-aged working dudes on Christmas, so we got nothing but time. So, yeah, boy, if you like classic Pink Buzz, man, entire cast, Christmas special, Naughty or Nice, be there or be spanked, I guess. But Richard, man, thank you so much. This was very informative. This was a lot of fun, and man. Your book is just incredible. I really hope anybody who maybe stopped in and listened to this will go and back it and get all three issues if they don't have them already, or just get themselves a nice treat because this is a comic you're going to want to check out. This is going to be something you're going to want to have and show people and be like, this is what I'm checking out right now because it's one of the smartest and just most lovely things you could look at. Like if you're a fan, like I am, of books like Low by Greg Ticini and Rick Remender, like this is the closest you're going to find to a comic that looks like that that's out right now. So if you're a fan of that like I am, yeah, definitely be getting Bam and Glam. But until next time, this is Johnny Alpha from Graphic Vandalism saying don't stop reading. Don't stop watching awesome movies. Don't stop supporting excellent music. And you have a happy Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year if we don't see you before then. All right, everybody, take it easy.
Happy 50th, Jen.